Hi, everybody. It's time for a little video for my Grace Network. First of all, I want to say hi to all of you and speak to you about this connection with everyone that is going um, global, and that's beautiful. And if you want to connect to the Grace Network, and I just need to share just a little bit about what that means, just go to the YouTube channel. This is all new for me. So go to the YouTube channel and you hit my name, and then it'll go to one of the Grace videos, and then all you do is hit subscribe. It's free. There's no cost, nothing to you. But what I am going to encourage everyone to do now is that when you have prayer requests, you just put them in. Just how you connect with. I'm such a Luddite and I apologize for it, but this is the best I can do. That you communicate that, but also that we share with each other, that we are keeping each other in our prayers, and that we acknowledge that we are becoming a global prayer community. And it's not Christian, it's not religious, it's not, I don't do that. It is the power of prayer, which has no religion whatsoever. I want to be clear about that. So I want to talk about two things today. Um, and one is, how are prayers answered? How are your prayers for healing answered? I mean, you can say, I read everybody's prayers. I read everything you write. And I realize, people are praying for their family members. They're praying for resolution in things that they're suffering, financial crises. This is life. We pray to find our way, to navigate our way through the challenges in our lives. And they're all the same version of challenges. And so what I've learned, and take this to heart, but this is me. What I've learned is that when we release first of all, just to give you a visual, I don't have any sense at all that there is this off-planet God that's up there that we're sending prayers up to. I mean, that left me a long time ago. And through the many kind of micro mystical experiences I've come to realize that we are literally living in a God atmosphere, that all creation is God. It's an incomprehensible thought. But when someone, for example, has a near-death experience or a mystical experience, and a mystical experience is like a near-death experience without dying. Your perspective, your consciousness shifts from the physical into your immediate energetic reality. And the moment you're in that energetic reality, you're in a sea of light. And all of that light is the divine. It is the holy. So it's everywhere. It's just, and how I like to think of it is, honestly, the physical world is like the caboose on a long train of creation. And when you're on the caboose, do you remember? I remember as a child seeing trains go by where they actually had cabooses. I'm from that era, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to sit on the caboose and then have this long train ride and just go around the country? And it would be so cool to be in that little compartment. And yet, if you think about life, think about your life like a train. And you're sitting in the caboose and you're looking out the back window. And what you're actually seeing for the first time is actually everything that you've already passed by. Think about this. You're looking at the end of your decisions that are being made in the engine of the train, and you're seeing the result. As a result of deciding to take the northern track, the northwest route to the west coast, we're going to see this, and you see it last of all because you're sitting in the caboose. Though for you, It's the first time you see what everybody else sees a long time ahead of you. I want you to get wrapped around that because it has to we're going to transition to faith. It has a lot to do with explaining why faith is the key ingredient to prayers being answered, We are so accustomed to looking through the caboose at the whole of our life, and we think this is our life, not getting that this has already happened, that everything that I experienced this morning is gone. It's already happened. It's already history. And even sitting here, this book was already written, it's already printed, it's history. It's history. It's all the emotions that went into it, all the effort, the long months of writing. It's over. It's over. So I'm looking at everything that has already been created. And it's really important to think about this. A very simple way is the engine is the chef and the caboose is the cake that's already been baked. And it's the engine where the chef is, where creation is happening. What should we bake? What should I do? Should I do a chocolate cake? Should I do a raspberry filling? Should I do all of the many potential decisions are being made in the engine? But by the time you get the cake, by the time you have it, all that's been decided. It's all done. All you get to do now is experience the cake. You can't change a thing. You can only experience it. And this is what the physicalness of your life is the experience of your cake. You can only experience what you've already decided. And this is a big deal to understand that. So here comes faith. When we talk about healing, the holy teacher that really reigns supreme in this is Jesus. And so you don't have to, but I returned to reading all the scriptures and everything Jesus said yet again, but with the intent of looking at how he approached healing and how many times he said, it's your faith that heals you. Do you have the faith to make this happen? Do you have the faith? The woman who's been bleeding for 12 years, and she touches his robe, and he stops and he says to Peter, who touched me? And Peter said, are you nuts? There are all these people all around you. How do I know who? He said, no. I felt the power go through me. And he turns around and he finds this woman. And she said, I'm sorry, I touched you. I'm sorry. And she's apologizing for it. But she said, I just wanted to touch your hem. And I knew it would be enough to stop, to heal me. And every single time he talked about faith. So I'm going to talk about that for a moment. Now, in fact, I could talk about it for a long time because it's so important to understand the power of faith and where that comes in when you're in prayer and when you are seeking a healing. What is faith? Faith is your capacity to believe more in what you have not seen and its potential, to believe more in all the ingredients in the engine of your train, than to believe in the power of the cake that's already been created, and the ability of the cake or the ability of medicine that's already been created to heal you. Rather, faith is where you turn your power and your attention to where creation begins, to the laws of creation, to the nature of God, to a world greater than this world that we see, to the world that created this world we see. By the time decisions are made and it's physical, it's too late to change anything. Faith is the capacity to say, I'm going to the major leagues. I'm going into the realm where anything is possible and anything can be recreated and anything can, Teresa of Avila, with God, all things are possible, because this is the divine universe. And I think one of the reasons, what do I know? This is my speculation, but the miracles of Jesus were so outrageous, walking on water and this sort of thing. But one of the extraordinary messages that was consistent throughout his life with people is that faith gives you dominion over this world. This world does not have dominion over you. Will you please get that? Faith and believing and understanding the power from whence you've come is greater than anything you'll experience in this world. This world is, every moment makes it a history book. Every moment becomes solid history. Go to the world where creation is in process at all times. That's what faith gets you to. Now, the thing about it is, like, the light's got to go on and you've got to get that. You've got to get, what am I thinking? Of course, thoughts and the nature of God is law, light, and love. And all of those are active life force ingredients. And my faith is that if you can allow a healing, I'll accept it. I would be grateful for that. I would be grateful. I don't tell you how to heal. I don't tell you what to do with my life. But in any way that a healing grace can reach me, let it reach me. As I said to you in an earlier video, you never tell heaven how to answer your prayers. You never, ever draw limitations around and say, I want to heal, but I still want to stay angry at this person. I still want to, get my way. I still want to control this relationship, even though it's given me an ulcer. You see, when it comes to healing, you must, first of all, deeply assess what you know you need to do. Because you are always getting guidance, always. This is part of the nature of the organic nature of God. Heaven never stops giving you guidance to help you feel better. Whether that is start relaxing, ease up. I have someone I see quite often, and this person is dealing with cancer, and this person is dealing with stress. And I'll say to her, you really do have to ease up on, I said, you have a list of things in your head that you are convinced you must control. And you control that by letting everybody know your opinion about everything all the time. It's, I don't want you to do this, and this is bad, and God doesn't like this, and the way she talks, right? And when people don't listen to you, instead of letting it go, you rage inside. You rage, you get angry. I said, look at your body. You're dealing with cancer. You're dealing with this. You're dealing with that. And I said, at some point, maybe you have to kick back and say, how do I know what's best for everybody? Why am I so controlling? What is that? That mechanism is about fear. It's not about faith. It's pure fear. And so when I talk to you about how our prayers answered, think of this logically. Heaven is not going to suddenly heal your cancer. It's going to go after the root of it. It's going to target the fear patterns in you. And you healing those fear patterns. And then, like a homeopathic remedy, it will work its way into the physical. This is the source of your illness, not, I'm convinced that the toxicness in us is far more toxic than anything we eat. That doesn't help us if you're eating, McDonald's or fried foods or all that junk all the time. But let's face it, I know a lot of people who live incredibly healthy lifestyles and they get sick. So the belief that the healthy lifestyle is the way that guarantees health is simply erroneous. And as is the idea that that negative people are the only people that get ill. I don't think so. I think there's so much more we do not understand about the size of the universe that we live in. about the power of our karma, about the power of our dharma, the power of all that is involved in the journey of our life. But I do know, and I am convinced, that every prayer is answered immediately. But prayer is a mystical substance. It's a mystical force. It's an intimate language between you and the divine. And the way it's answered is your prayers always, the answers always target the source of your suffering, not the consequence of it. And the consequence might be chronic aches and pains or an illness. That's the consequence. That's the caboose. So the prayers come into the engine where you have to, it might activate your fears to the point where you are exploding with fears and finally go to a therapist. You finally go to a therapist. So prayers, the way they're answered, they target the source, the reason you're suffering, not the consequence, not the consequence. And as you dive into saying, maybe it's me, I have a problem. Maybe if I did yoga and deep breathing and really work things through and de-stressed, maybe that would assist my healing. And you kind of take the guidance and you go with it. You follow it. This is how the nature of God is very organic. It's built into the system of our lives. It's not, you're not going to have an apparition. You're very few people will contact our healing network and say, our grace network, I woke up the next morning and all is well. It may happen, it could happen, but it's more likely that what most of us will experience, us, all of us, is that the grace of healing that we're all praying for will come in through the channels where we are hemorrhaging the most, hemorrhaging the most. And it could be even in relationships where you're hemorrhaging the most and it might blow up the relationship so that it could finally either be mended or ended. This heaven works like that. It's not a logical force, it's a mystical one. It's a mystical one. And I really want you to visualize that all of us are breathing together, that all life breathes together, that this is this remarkable time we're living in, and it is remarkable, where the mystical laws that have always existed, the fact that the divine is love, light, law, are now merging with the laws of quantum physics, the laws of energy. You're beginning to see that there's a consciousness in energy. And as a person's, that consciousness about energy, if it's mixed with just a little bit of awe, you begin to possibly see the power of grace, the power of grace. Because grace is when you recognize that this energy is God. And then you start working with it and flowing with it. So, prayers. I picked out a prayer for us today. And I really do want to encourage all of you to share what you need prayers for. And someone asked me if I was going to pick a certain time of day for everyone to pray at. But since we are global, that would be 24 hours a day. And what I would suggest is what I do. I have a consistent time that I just go into prayer for everybody. And that's in the morning and then at night. And it's impossible now for me to keep everybody's name, but I read your prayer requests, and I just visualize myself putting them all into my heart, so that it becomes one huge prayer request that everything is together on, and so that for me is enough to get the recognition that I am including all everybody in this prayer request, of course. And I also include the prayers for peace in the world, wherever there is controversy and crisis, that somehow or other human beings can get over their fear of each other and find a way to breathe together, because we will all suffer the consequences of not being able to do that together. So for me, that's really, really important. Okay, I'm just going to share this prayer. Again, this is from the book I wrote on intimate conversations with the divine. These are prayers that I wrote, and this feels particularly appropriate given the subject today. I observed an argument today while walking through the park, and it was nasty. A man and a woman were raging at each other, their anger and pain flowing out of their mouths like arrows on fire. He stormed away, and his last and very loud words to her were that he wanted out of their marriage. She sat on a bench and sobbed, and he had just ended their marriage. You know, Lord, in moments like that, nothing can be said, and yet that does not mean nothing can be done. So often people have said to me, but what can I do? Or someone should do something. Helplessness flashes all over them, and they withdraw into the child archetype, fully expecting the adults in their world to carry their responsibility. Others will clean up the planet. Others will take care of the poor. Others will make the world a better place. I'm only one person. And I'm exhausted with the helplessness of so many people. We humans are many things, but helpless is not one of them. It wasn't my place to invade that woman's pain at the park, but I could send out a prayer for guidance, and I did. I prayed, do you want me to do something for her? And I felt the instruction, sit next to her and release grace. I sat on the next bench, closed my eyes, and let grace do its healing work. I didn't expect to open my eyes and see her smiling. Grace is not fairy dust. But I knew she'd received a message, a deep knowing, that no matter the oncoming storm she now had to navigate through, she would be fine. She would make it. She would not be demolished. She was not as weak and fragile as she thought. She may have imagined herself as strong before. Now perhaps she knew she had no choice but to believe in herself. Grace does not reveal outcomes or assurances of how anything will work out. Everything unfolds according to our choices. Grace assures us that when moments of choice do arise, we will somehow be able to rely upon ourselves to make decisions that might even surprise us. Grant me the grace to become a whole person, Lord, to realize the power of what it means to be present with all that is holy within me, as well as within others. It is easy to envision the whole of life through the lens of holiness, and let that be the lens I wear each day. Bless you, everybody. See you next week.